Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday session. It's midweek of week 5 of ALYFE Connects, our very first virtual-only lifestyle event brought to you exclusively by ALYFE Group. This evening, we are delighted and honored to welcome Sarah Lian, actress, TV host, MC, and entrepreneur, to give us some insightful and informative insights into her journey through the entertainment industry and her inspiration in founding Supparetreat, a company and, more importantly, community focused on female empowerment. And to help us do so, we are also delighted, and I personally am very grateful, to welcome a previous guest of ours, Melissa Tan, a model, social influencer, and zero waste advocate who we had on the show previously, you might recall, to host Sarah and take her through that journey. So I'm gonna get out of their way because I'm sure these two wonderful ladies have a lot to talk about without me getting in the way of them. So I will make way, and please help me welcome Sarah and Melissa. Over to you.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah. And hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here. That was a really great intro, Jacob. You made me laugh backstage. Hey, Sarah. How's it going?
Good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. I really like that we're having like a late night chat when everyone can join us when they've had their dinner and they have time to relax now instead of trying to catch them on the busy work day.
Yeah, I agree. This is a really nice time slot.
Okay, so we're going to talk. We have a lot to talk about today, actually, because you have done so much, not only in your own career, but with everything that you've built since then. Jacob has done a great intro already, but for all of you that most of you would be familiar with her, but if you're not, she's the brains behind Suppagood Collective, which is one part boutique talent management, empowering an exclusive female roster, myself included.
Yes.
And last year, she launched, early 2019, she launched the highly praised Supparetreat, the woman-focused community that aims to educate, equip, and empower women with the right tools to succeed in life, love, and work. And it's been a year and a half since then.
Yeah, well, I mean, you attended the first one.
Yes, I'm almost addicted to Supparetreats. So I'm like a testament from itself because I can't get enough of it. And not only that, a lot of people I see feel the same way that I do as well. So let's jump to it. Let's start with your personal journey. So this is something I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear about as well.
Yeah.
You spent a really great decade in entertainment and beyond. And the entertainment industry is often coveted as aspirational, hard to achieve, and it lies behind this mysterious wall where people are always trying to access. But as you move on to your next chapters, how was that? What are some of the takeaways you saw help you take you into the next chapter?
Yeah. Oh God, my personal journey. It's crazy because I just had an interview earlier, and then, I was talking to someone and he was saying, I would have never imagined you doing this. Like meeting you 10 years ago, I would have never guessed that this is what you were going to do. And I would say the exact same thing. I think if I looked at my career, what it was just before I had moved to Malaysia, I was acting, I was auditioning, I was like a poor, whatever, actor, student. And what I wanted to do, I would never imagine where I've ended up. And so when I talk about my personal journey, I always link it to the 3 stages of happiness. And I found this picture like somewhere, and it just completely resonated with me. And it was just breaking down the 3 different levels of happiness. And so the first happiness I talk about is pleasure. So exactly like what you said, being part of this entertainment industry, you covet it. You want to be a part of it. You're like, oh, I could be her. Oh, yes, I could memorize my lines, or I'm okay with the camera. And you start loving these kind of things. And I was absolutely in love with playing different characters or hosting programs or hosting shows. And I had that privilege of doing that in North America and then later in Malaysia. And so when I started to get those accolades, like either FHM sexiest model or whatever, or sexiest something, or, being recognized as this kind of host or getting an award for being an actress. Those were things that made me happy because it was a sense of achievement. And it was definitely just pleasure. It was like, it just made me feel good. That was my first level. Then after being in Malaysia, I went to Hong Kong. I was attempting to model there. I wrote something about that on my Instagram recently. And I ended up actually using that as a conduit to do more films. I ended up filming like 3 films over there. And then I realized, okay, why am I working so hard in Hong Kong when I can do this in Canada? Like Hong Kong was like a better position for me than in Malaysia, but it was not a great position. So I came back to Malaysia and just said, okay, I'm just going to make a ton of money so I can have a little nest egg so I can move back to Canada. So I did that. And I was feeling lost. I had just turned 30. I was like feeling like I didn't know what to do. And I just had no bearings. And then I felt completely shattered and paralyzed, thinking that everything I've ever amounted to had not ever come out. Like I thought I was going to be married. I thought I was going to have kids. I was going to, like I didn't even have a car. I didn't even have a house. Like I didn't have anything. So, and we just had a conversation, the grass is greener, right? So I thought if I moved to Canada and I have this great career in entertainment, and I was very lucky. I was able to book films and TV shows and commercials, in North America. It wasn't really what I thought it would be. And then I changed agents, because sometimes having a really good agent really will get you to a better place. And I did everything. I took all the courses. I took any kind of class that would help me upskill. I had a great agent. He was this new young buck, like my new Ari Gold. And it just didn't happen. Like it just didn't. Like I actually had more luck with my old agent, who I'd been with for like 6 years. So I gave it my best shot. And then I said, okay, I'm ready to come back to Malaysia. And so when I came back to Malaysia, I had an intention of how I wanted to grow my career and how I wanted to help other people. And that's when my Suppagood talent, which you are a part of, started to make sense to me. And that's when I started to hit my second level of happiness, which is passion. Understanding how difficult it was for me to ascend, or how quick it was for me to ascend in the Malaysian entertainment industry as a complete stranger, someone that had never really truly grown up in Malaysia, to me was a feat. And if I could recognize people's hard work and passion and bring that together and give them like, a nice kick in the butt or like a little push in the right direction, I would be able to see them succeed. And that's what I get off at. So, I mean, Mel, I have like conversations with you all the time, yesterday being one of them, where I just want to see you succeed. Like at the end of the day, I just want that. And so my level of happiness and passion really meant that like I'm editing pictures, I'm emailing, I'm creating beautiful decks, I'm talking to people, I'm just working for other people. And so that was the next step. And so doing that also allowed me to take a step back and say, not every single job is for you. So if your talents get a job or someone else comes in and gets something, it was just meant for them. And so I was able to create the separation in my initial very competitive, insecure way, to now saying, hey, I think this would be a great fit for you. This would be a great fit for you. And it's never going to take away from what I'm capable of. And so in developing that, we started with Supparetreat technically 2 years ago, Mel. And
oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So Supparetreat kind of came out as an opportunity for us to just work on some workshops, some talks. So a handful of the girls end up giving their talks. And we just wanted to explore what it was like. And we had a really great time. And I recognized that the ones that were giving the talks had great gifts, and that they shouldn't be so selfish, that other people should benefit from it, because we all did, even though they were under my roster or not, or, it was the PR team. So with that being said, that's when I started to see where this could go. So Supparetreat then had its second installment later on that year. So it was it was an invitation only. There was about 12 women from all walks of life, different age groups. Some owned their own companies, some were corporate, some were moms, some were singles. And so with all of that, we created our second Supparetreat to see what it would be like. And they gave us amazing feedback, all of them. And by January the following year, which was last year, we were able to launch it. And so now, after going through a few, we've produced, oh my God, I would say like 20, 30 events now, or not 30, maybe about 20 events. And at least like 12 events last year. It was crazy because you could start to see how people would resonate with what we were doing. And you've attended a couple of our events, and it wasn't so much of what we were giving, but more about the space that we were offering. And it was like that people could really connect with each other, or at least connect with themselves. And since then, I've just been like, that's my new purpose now. Like, I spend most of my time doing those kind of things to see how else can I improve it? How else can I reach these women? How else can we create an environment where these women feel safe, where they can meet real, genuine friends, where they can feel confident out of any situation, whether it is work, whether it is relationships, whether it's your private life, your family, you know, and just seeing them empower each other is like, that's pretty much like, that's my journey. So yeah, and that last level of happiness is the purpose. I found my purpose. So I'm happy.
That's awesome. Like I feel like you've given me your whole life story in like 10 minutes. That was so good. And how you hit the 3 different levels of happiness, because like I think like when you break it down that way, the happiness into 3 different types, because usually people just go like, I want to be happy, and like, what do you mean? And they're like, I don't know. It's very not specific, right? It's very unspecific. So the way that you broke it down was like really clear into the different ways that you can gain happiness and which one would be the most fulfilling. How did you transition from this to that? Because like I remember the first one you said was pleasure, and that was very inward. It was very that was very about you, like your career, your achievements. How would someone how did you transition from pleasure to all those other things? Because sometimes in a dog eat world, you can really often just focus on yourself most of the time.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a really gradual transition. I think because the nature of what Suppagood Talent was supposed to be. So when I started it with my business partner, Pete, at first I just wanted him to manage me because he had known my entire career. Like that was just it really, because I was like, I've worked with other managers and they're great, but I find that me and Pete have a really great connection, and that he would be able to help push me in the right way. And so he said, no, let's do it for everyone. I'm like, fine, right? So
you're pushed into it.
Yeah, exactly. So so there was like our first iteration of Suppagood Talent was really like just talent, like casting, that kind of thing. But then I thought, you know, there's no point to invest in people if it's always transactional. Like if anybody's ever gone through this whole modeling route where you go in for an audition, you tell your name, you show pictures of yourself, like that's it. And then you move on. There's nothing interesting about it. But I found that like if there was an opportunity that we would be able to create an agency, it would be really to track the trajectory of someone's career, you know, that we would look at all the different ways they can not improve, but like grow as an artist. And so not just in a singular way, but through evolving. And it happens because we age or we learn a new skill or we get, you know, into something. And so I think when that happened and when we had decided that we were going to do the agency and I had gotten a couple talents, I think that's when my brain sort of switched and said, no, I want to do this for them. So they were as much of a priority as I was. I was still doing my own things, but I was never trying to ever cannibalize their work, because why else would I create a company, invest in it, and purposely take their jobs, right? So so yeah, to me it was really just having that shift and saying, no, I want to help this person. So whatever I can do to help this person, I'm going to focus on this person. And I think that allowed me to take my first step away from myself and take my first step away from being selfish and say, no, I want to take that. I want to take that. Oh, actually, I want this. when in fact, anything that came to me, I would say, hey, would you be interested in so-and-so as well? And that's really how I was able to start to siphon a lot of the work that came through and be able to see things in a different light. And so even if people were rejecting me, I was okay with it. And I think that's really how my confidence started to grow, where I knew, and I had this conversation with you yesterday, I knew that like, if I'm going to help someone, it's not going to take away from me. Like if I can't do an MC job, or if I can't take, I can't host this and this person's going to get it, it doesn't mean I'm a bad MC. It doesn't mean that I'm not good enough or they didn't want me. It just means that it just didn't work out this time. But if the client or if the person that I'm talking to understands where I'm coming from, values who I am and values my integrity and all of that, I have no doubt that they're going to come back again to me and say, hey, I wasn't able to work with you this time, but can I work with you next time? Or I wasn't able to work with you last time. I now I've been planning this opportunity to work with you again. So, these things come around. And to me, as long as you're able to operate in good faith, people recognize that, it's a really genuine gesture that people would be able to realize. And that's how I've basically been growing what I do, my company, whatever projects that I put myself in. Like, it's just that saying, like, make generosity part of your growth strategy is just be kind. Right. And so when that's when it first slipped, that's when it first switched, from pleasure to passion. And then passion to purpose I discovered it at Supparetreat, where you were there. I discovered it where I was like, this is so meaningful for people and I don't even know them. It was different with you guys because obviously I know you, I love you, I invest my time in you, I'm committed to you as someone that overlooks your career and your path. But there's a lot of these women, I was like, I really care about them. I don't know them.
I barely even know what you do for work, but I care so much about you.
Yeah. And it's because when you're in that space and you feel safe to just let it out, like my mother did this to me, this happened to me as a child. When you're in that energy, you're going through it with them, and you are understanding that, like, what they're going through, and you're going through that pain. So we always talk about that collective pain is really that collective power. So then when you're done, when you're finished, when we've all kind of held space for each other and looked after each other, it's so powerful because at the end of the day, they will all say, wow, I can't believe I cried my eyes out for 3 days. I feel so much better, but holy crap, all you women are so incredibly strong and I cannot wait to root for you. I mean, what better feeling than that to come out of every event that I do? Like, what better feeling? And so, I'm addicted to being able to be of service to people. And I think that's really when that switch from just being passionate to like, no, this is a purpose. I need to continue doing this. I want to see women succeed. I want to see, people do well, and I want them to feel empowered.
I think I really like what you said about generosity, because even before Supparetreat, like you said, you never thought it would come to this, but everyone knows you're really good at working a room. And even when you work a room, you can see the conversations that you have, one-on-one interactions that you have with people. You are generous in those conversations as well. You're always very, you've always got great ideas, and you always dream big for people. And because we all have blinders on ourselves, we're all too familiar with our situations, and you're just kind of like a light that comes in and like, hey, how about this? How about this? How about this? So now when you look hindsight, it almost felt like this makes a lot of sense now. Like how you ended up in Supparetreat with Supparetreat and what you've come come to now. But in the experience of Supparetreat, I think from the outside, for someone who has never experienced it before, the marketplace is pretty heavy. There's a lot of motivational stuff, empowerment stuff going on, and our generation is like as vocal as we'll ever be because of the rise of social media and all the media platforms that we can voice our concerns and the way we feel about. So for someone who has like never stepped into super retreat before, what would you say to them?
I would say that there are 4 things that you'll walk away from. So one is that you'll have a chance to connect with yourself. So, you know, in all of our events, no matter what, whether it's like a singles event, a relationship class, a coaching class, or a women's circle, or whatever it is, you'll have a chance to connect with yourself. And that means you're basically going to feel. You're going to have feelings. You're going to be upset. You're going to be angry. You're going to be sad. You're going to, like, things are going to come out of you that you don't realize. So you're definitely going to connect with yourself. The second is that you're going to meet amazing people. You're going to have genuine friendships. It's just like how I care about complete strangers. It's like, you know, just you are going to connect. You're going to meet someone. The third is that you're going to feel safe. That no matter what happens, you'll feel like, actually, I can share what I've been wanting to share. And we've had a lot of those moments where, you know, even for me as someone that's facilitating or hosting or you know, owning this space, like, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe she shared that, you know? And it's because they feel safe too. They know that they're not going to be judged. They know they're not going to feel like they're the only person. Because when someone shares something so deep, wow, like I can feel the entire energy. And then it's like, we feel that not pain or just anger or whatever it is, but like we all cry, like we're all affected by it. You know, if someone's talking about how they don't have a relationship with their mom, like all of us feel that way, or how their dad wanted them to be born a boy. Like we all, as us women, like, you know, and it's crazy, and we never expect this. This is not something you sign on a form that we're gonna know. Yeah, so it's always just this weird energy that comes in that ends up being almost like a common theme. And the last part is that you're going to walk out with confidence. So I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but you know, confidence isn't like, oh, I'm so beautiful now, right? It's not that kind of confidence. It's that being able to make a decision innately that's good for you. And you sometimes are unable to make these decisions because you're clouded. So you're clouded by your fears, you're clouded by what other people say, you're clouded by, you know, things that you've been masking, you're clouded by your own shame. You know, if you've ever read Brene Brown or ever seen her or heard her or anything, she talks a lot about shame. And it's sometimes shame festers in so many ways that like you don't even realize you try to circumvent it. And when it comes up, you know, it's like you can't even function. So yeah, I mean, if no one has ever come to my event before and you're wondering what it's like, I'm telling you, you're going to walk away with these 4 things. At least.
One of the things that I kept saying to you before I came for the next super retreat is like, Sarah, I'm really afraid. I don't want to cry because I'm afraid that I'm going to come in and I'm the type of person that doesn't want to cry. So how does someone even like prepare themselves for something like that? You know, because there's so many layers that you have to peel back.
Yeah, I think it's first just identifying, or just not identifying, I would say like accepting that like there's a lot of emotions that exist in our bodies, and crying is just a form of release. And that a lot of people, and I would say even society, it's like, oh, did you cry? Did you like it's such a thing for people. And that if you cry, it means something. Like it means like, oh, wow, is very serious. Or if you cry, it's like not welcomed, or, oh, she was a sissy or he was a sissy because he cried. And there's just so much stuff around crying. And so I think when people come in, they feel like, oh, if I cry, it means I'm really vulnerable. But you know what? Everyone's crying, so it don't really matter. No one's really looking at you crying. Because trust me, I'll probably be crying before you did, you know? And it's just
more like a competition.
Yeah, like a competition. different problem.
Okay. No, that was really awesome. Like I think like one of the things that I've always seen was that the first time sometimes opened a new layer that I found that there were like 5 other layers underneath that I just haven't dealt with. And like, how does that go on? Like, do people keep going for super retreats? Do people does it start with that one and then you keep going for the next ones? Or do you think that people could be able to fix whatever they're trying to fix from the first session onwards?
So unlike other types of like courses or whatever, it's not like a level 1, level 2 kind of, oh, I got certification from Suppagood. Like, it's definitely not that at all. How I was looking at my business, and I was looking at that particular project, was my Super Retreat project, and I was thinking, how do I differ from other people? How is it different than a Tony Robbins, Ignite Your Life or something like that? How is it different from Mind Valley and the amazing courses that they offer, or even an app like Calm or Insight? What is different? And so I think with Super Retreat, because you're healing, because your journey is your own, no one can determine how many women's circles you need in order to better yourself, because healing is not linear. Like what I feel now, like I'm in such an amazing place in my life right now, but like a couple months ago, I was like 10 steps back, and it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. But when people come to our events, and how they determine if it's right, if it's, enough for them or what they want, we really believe that like their intuition will tell them, without being like woo-woo or anything like that. And it's just, if something really resonates with you, it's like when you want to take a course or when you want to learn something and you look at the objectives, let's say, and you're like, oh my God, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Like you're saying all this stuff. Yeah. It means it resonates with you, and it means that something about you is trying to call out to it, So there is a natural innate fear of like, oh, I don't know all these people, or oh my God, am I going to cry? Or what are these people going to make me do? It's like, you're going to be able to feel connected to what we offer. And also what makes us different is that when you are there, you will learn how to look after yourself, so that it's not that you have a bind to any of my coaches. Of course, my coaches are more than happy to share their insights or their experience. But at the end of the day, having someone go through that experience with you is just an opinion. You still have to do that. You still have to go through that experience yourself. So when it comes to attending our events, usually Hannah or Asha or whoever I get, even Marcus, whoever I get, they will give you, okay, so this is what you do next. So if you're feeling this way, if you want to shift this is how you get through it. These are the questions you ask yourself. And if you're Rajan enough to go and write it down and to really practice, you're going to see how much you've grown. And I'm surprised, because I haven't really been that hardworking or anything, but because I've been attending every single one, I end up having to go through that practice. And I've learned that I've grown so much. And I know I've grown so much because I have people or experiences or environments that before would trigger me into like a crap storm, like a shit storm. And I would just be so angered by it. And I would just like spew my venom, that now I'm just like, that doesn't bother me, but I feel like that person has an issue. Like, there's a lot of things that I've let slide. And a lot of it is because I just don't take things so personally anymore. And I used to, and I'm not saying I've never, or I never will. Of course, things are still going to trigger me. Of course, things are still going to make me upset, or if people are going to say certain things to me, but I can recognize and take ownership and responsibility of my feelings and what comes up. And I think when you're able to have that accountability, you're able to manage it, versus like, hey, you did this to me. You did it, right? Like having that kind of conversation. But if you're able to take ownership of it and say, actually, I felt hurt. He didn't make me hurt. I was the one that let myself get hurt. And so if I'm able to manage my emotions, or I'm able to manage my feelings, or understand, okay, well, what can I do so that doesn't happen again? Do I feel like I need to speak to him? Is that something that I need to do? Or actually, I realized that there's a miscommunication or a misjudgment on my part. I thought I was a closer friend with this person than he thought I was. So actually, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just being himself. I was just hurt because I was, I had a different impression of it. So how do I manage that? Right. So there's so many things that I've learned from this stuff. And so when people attend, whatever pain, let's say it's an issue with their parent, like if it's not there anymore, it's not there anymore. But sometimes there's other stuff, just like what you said. If there's one layer that's been peeled, you're like, oh my God, there's like 5 others.
It's like, I thought I was done.
And you're like, oh my God, it's still there. Oh God. So yeah. And then you just work on them. So I think as you get deeper and deeper, and Hannah's a different beast, but but Hannah Lowe, one of our coaches, she allows you to really start thinking, like, when was the first time you felt this? When was the first time you felt the need to be this? When was the first time you were anxious? And you start to trace it back. It could be, oh, when my mom said this, or when I was put in this situation, or when this happened to me. A lot of this trauma that happens when we were a kid, like sort of somehow seeps into it in our subconscious. We don't even know. Like, I don't even know. But when I had a session with someone and I was just talking about things, like everything just dawned on me. And I was like, oh my God, I realized I'm doing this because when I was a kid, this happened to me. And I saw that and I made sure that will never happen again. And so everything in my life has changed the course. And so until I could deal with that emotion or that feeling, only then I could say, now I know what I have to adjust. Like, so, my innate need to control or to be in control with everything that happens is because I felt helpless as a child. I could see things fall apart in my life and I just couldn't do anything. So when I turned 16, I was so ready to get my own job, to look after myself, so no one needed to look after me and I wouldn't be a burden to someone. Even though no one said that I was a burden, I just took that upon myself, right? And that was my impetus to like move to Malaysia, start a career, do this on my own, not get any help, be in debt, but pay for my own shit. Like, so those are the things that had pushed me. But until I was able to like really go back and just start to think and really connect the dots, only then I've been able to release some of the things that have held me back that I never realized. And I wouldn't have that kind of epiphany had it not a space or a time to reflect. And so that's just really what we do. We almost guide you through this personal reflection and find you camaraderie so that you don't feel like you're alone, because you're not.
Well, what is like even when you're talking about the way that you approached it and how you experienced it, and I'm thinking that I have totally different problems. And could you walk us kind of through the process of what a super retreat would look like? Because the 12 people that are coming in there have very different problems, have very different experiences. And how does is there a loose structure that you work with to kind of bring people through that journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's every event is always different. So each coach brings something completely different, like completely. Even if we're doing a women's circle, so we're doing one tomorrow, and half of them have attended our events before, and they're like, I think I'm ready for another one, and it's great. And each time they'll always have a different experience. Yeah. So always. And it's because you're a different person when you attend. And I'm not saying like you're no longer Melissa Tan or like you're no longer, this person, but it's just where you're at, like whether your emotions, whatever you've dealt with, so Sarah today is different than Sarah 3 months ago. So even when I bring myself to this circle or bring myself to this event, led by Asha, or bring myself into Marcus's, life and breath class, I'm just totally like different. And so if you would say to walk you through an experience, it's all different, but I can share maybe like the women's circle. And it's basically, we all go around and we just, start off with maybe a feeling or a word to represent how we are or what's going through us right now. So some people say blessed, some people say anxious, some people say nervous, some people say exhausted, tired, overwhelmed. There's some positives, some negatives. And then for whatever theme that we have, Hannah will say, maybe it is, let's say it's about MCO. We're processing emotions right now. And so, maybe think about the last time you lost control. And so we put you in little groups of maybe 3 or 4, less, more. And you sit there, and one by one, we teach you how to hold space. And holding space means you're just there to listen. You just literally, what we call a listening bowl, you just hold your listening bowl and you just listen. You don't say, oh, that happened to you? Oh, yeah. Last week, my father also, like, you don't compare. You don't try to like, oh, make sure you call this guy because this guy, he'll help you with whatever. Like, you don't fix, you just listen.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just need that space. So it's nothing fancy. It's nothing weird. You're just saying, last time I lost control was when I was in a car and I was blah, 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 And then you're going to get maybe a mom. The last time I lost control was when my daughter decided to like put thumbtacks in the outlets. And I went crazy on her. And someone could say, another person could say, last time I lost control was when my boyfriend bought the wrong produce. And so you sit there and you just listen. And then, Hannah walks you through maybe something deeper. Maybe you're sitting in the same group, or maybe you are, or maybe you're in the same group or a different group. And then we walk through another thing. And I think as you start to share and as you start to listen, you get to feel that like, oh, I lost control because I was hurt. I felt I wasn't understood. I felt I wasn't seen. And these are really like at the underbelly of all these emotions, is just saying that like I lost control because I was actually just really scared because it happened to me before and I didn't want to see this person go through it,
Yeah.
And sometimes just acknowledging that and saying, holy crap, I can't believe that's why I was so angry. And being able to recognize that and have that awareness is powerful.
Yeah.
So as you start to really unravel your thoughts, you're also unraveling other people's thoughts. And that's what I find. And I think when I speak to some of my past participants and they're like, oh my God, this was so healing. And I said, what healed you? Like, what do you think healed you? Like, what was your thing? And so she said, actually listening to other people's stories, because it was very revealing and I was able to learn from them. And it's just from listening. Yeah. It's not like, oh, my father is like really like, is like senile. And then someone saying, oh yeah, you could send him to this hospital. You can do all this. Like, it's not like no one is asking for advice. Like no one is asking for advice. No one needs to give advice, because at the end of the day, that person is going to make that decision themselves. And so we just foster the space for them to empower each other, and they're going to do it. Like, I don't even need to like check in on them. You get what I mean? And we've done enough of these where we actually trust and believe that every single woman, and hopefully as we start to bring men into the mix, will be able to have that power to do that for themselves and for each other. So it's just that we believe that you have this within you. And that's why my tagline is called Ignite the Power, the Fire Within, is because we believe that light is there. And I've seen it, even with people that you think don't have it. Not that I think people don't have it, but like, people that are hard to break, or like, no, I don't want to feel anything, or no, this is too much for me. Like, you will break, because you will break when you see someone turning on that spark and you're like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Oh my God.
And you can't manufacture that. Like,
No.
I think one of the best parts about Super Retreat is like, it's not like you've never heard these things before. You've probably read it in some form somewhere, or in a motivational book or a self-help book. But going through a Super Retreat experience, and like you said, listening, all of us know how to listen, but we don't actually do it. And when you give yourself the space to do it and be guided through that process, wow, like, it's so powerful.
Well, when you experienced it, and I presume you cried, was there?
I hate crying.
When you cried, what made you cry? What was your first cry at a Super Retreat? Like, what got you? Was it you? Was it listening? Like, what was it?
I remember how, oh my God, you're like one of the most perceptive people. You're like, okay, Melissa's gonna cry when someone else's cries. And it usually isn't something with yourself, because I always get triggered when someone else's when someone else breaks down, and then I'm like, oh my God, why am I so sad? And then when it's my own problem, I'm like, yeah, just stoic. And I think we all have that capacity to care within us. So that's why.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, when you're not when you're not comfortable with your emotions, when you're not close with your emotions, being able to cry for someone else allows you to have that distance.
That's true.
Right? So you're like, no, I'm crying for her. I'm not crying for me. I'm crying for her. Right? But
that's true.
Right? So you're just like, oh no, like it's about them. It's not about me. But I think as you start to realize that it actually just means that you are putting yourself in their place. And you have the comfort of understanding that it's them. Right? So like when a girl is crying about, let's say her dad wished she was a boy, like all of us are crying because at some point, maybe someone or, in our life was saying, oh, you're supposed to be a boy, or like daddy wanted a boy, or like, like little things like that. And it just resonated with us. And so when we heard that person say that, we were upset because we know what it would have felt like if that was us. And so when you're crying, you're like, oh my God, what a terrible story of like, what had happened to this person? And it may not have happened to you, right? Maybe it's not as dire. But I think the fact that you were empathetic enough to be able to put yourself in that situation, you're like, wow, if that was me, holy crap. And so you think your tears are actually for them, but actually it's for you.
Oh yeah. I think I've experienced that several times as well. Like how you said something someone else would say would strike a chord with you, and then you never realize that you were affected by that thing in the first place. You've buried it so deep.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What are some of your favorite success stories from participants?
Oh my God, so many. Like I was sharing one of the girls that came to our retreat. She had shared a story about how she didn't have a great relationship with her mom, just as a general thing. And she provided some really private things, but she basically said, no, thank you. And then she came to another event of ours. And then I was like, oh, okay, like, why don't you let everyone know, like, what your experience was? And so they said, so people had asked her, like, if you attended the last one, why are you here? Like, because you've already healed or whatever, or whatever. Yeah, you're fixed, right? And she just said, no, I just feel like there's more for me to do. There's more for me to just figure out. And I don't know where else I can do this. And I want to have other people that are there, And then she shared that, like, she went over to her mom's house the other day. And the minute she said that, oh my God, I started to ugly cry. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Like, I was just so elated because I was so shocked. Because this woman had basically said, I will never talk to this woman again, And it's tough because when you have these wounds with your mom, like, and I actually was going through something very similar. And I was just crying because I was like, wow. And it really prompted me to do something. And it really prompted me to, like, have a connection with my mom again. Because at that time, I hadn't talked to my mom for a year, an entire year. And it's, I already live abroad. I get it. But, like, that was a little bit like, just, this is not right. And like I said, sometimes some things trigger you. And when you are able to see their progression, like when she was just like, I was like at my mom's house the other day, and I was like, what? Like, that is a success story. Yeah. Or a girl that felt like she was bullied, or if she felt like, her friends had mistreated her. And then she was telling me, how do I turn off my settings so that, like, I'm private, so, like, people can't see me anymore? And I said, why are you hiding your account? She's like, because so-and-so is trying to see me. I don't want her to see me. I was like, fucking let her see you, It was like, show her that you don't, like, I was like, live your life. What are you afraid of? What can she do to you? What can she say to you? She's like, but she's going to talk bad about me. And I was like, you know what? That's a huge pat on your back. The fact that she was able to spend energy on hating you is the biggest compliment you're ever going to get. So I said, why are you making yourself small? And she's like, I know, I'm not small. and yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just feeling like, oh, I need to go back in my shell again. And it was just saying, hey, look at all the work that we've been doing, that we've been empowering each other, that's saying, hey, you can do this. You know, I go to her for advice, she comes to me for advice, and we're completely random strangers, mind you.
Yeah.
And being able to see that progress and being able to go to her like for advice has been monumental. So what other success stories? Holy crap. It's like people just like waking up and realizing the power that they have within them, that they're like, I'm going to claim that I've been victimizing myself in this situation for far too long. And I'm no longer going to say, why does this happen to me? Why can't he just do this? Why, you know, like those things happen. Like, why can't I just be more rich? Why did my parents be rich? Like you fall into this thing of helplessness. You can't control your parents. You can't control the money that they bestowed on you. You can't control where you live in life. You can't, you know, but what can you control? You can control how you feel about it. You can control what you can do about it. You can show how you can take the steps to get yourself out. So it's very liberating. It's very empowering. And it's just such a great process because you really start to work with what exists deep inside. And it's beyond any makeup. It's beyond any fitness regime, dieting tips. It's beyond any of that kind of stuff. Like money can't buy the innate love that you have for yourself. And I think that's really what we want to do. And that no matter what, you're absolutely meant to be where you are. You know, whatever society tells you, if you're too old, you're too young, you're this, you're that, like you're destined to be where you are. And that you needed to learn this lesson in order to move forward. And so I was listening to this podcast. I'm just going to say one last thing before you jump in because I know I've been talking a lot.
No, please do. Like, I love it when you talk. I always do it. I'm like, Sarah.
So I listened to this podcast with Joel Osteen, and he's this like big evangelical like Christian leader and stuff, but I'm not going to talk about Christianity. So he just says that like some people have 100 closed doors before they get to the open one. Some people have 50, some people have 12. So every time you go through something that is rough or tough or like, what has happened to me? Just say that's one closed door. The next one means I'm getting closer to my open door. And I think if you're able to really shift that mindset and versus like, whoa, me, the door is closed again. You know, like if you're just like upset by it, like just realize that like, done, you know, and that's how entrepreneurs are. They always say fail fast. Okay, I learned this lesson. Not going to hire for money anymore. I'm going to hire for culture. I'm going to try the software. Okay, software didn't work. I'm going to try building this. Okay, that didn't work. You want to fail fast. That's the whole notion of any entrepreneur is just like, I wish I made that mistake. I learned that mistake sooner. And so when you're able to take that, you're also able to bring more gratitude in your life where you won't be so ungrateful, but then you'll be like, you know what? I'm so glad I dated that guy because I learned I don't need to be this. I'm so glad that I, took this class because now I realize that I actually know more than the teacher and this was a waste of time, But not only is this a waste of time, but it allows me to see that I can do other things with my time. And so when I heard that, I was like, ooh, aha moment, Oprah, thank you. How many closed doors are you going to get to before you get to your open one? And are you going to be upset? Or are you going to push yourself to go through this closed door and go to the next one? And so that's really how I say, how to really look at moving forward and getting yourself out of it. And if we can help you circumnavigate this closed door, we're going to be there for you.
Yeah, for sure. Because like not pulling off those band-aids isn't the right way to go forward as well. Like that's just hampering you from ever moving forward. And what would you say to someone like me who's afraid of ripping off all the band-aids every time I walk into Suppagood?
No, it's just to not be afraid of your feelings. Because you need to ask yourself, and I won't know your answer, right? You need to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Are you afraid to emote? Are you afraid that if your emotions come out, then what will happen? You know, to just keep asking, what is this thought? What does this keep pulling me back? Join me for Asha's Recalibrate, where she really teaches you how to use your thoughts to become so powerful, and how to redirect or rejig your thoughts. So you're like, why am I saying this? Hold on. Let me say it in a different way, so that it doesn't make me feel so scared, or doesn't trigger these emotions that I don't want to come up, right? Yeah. And so until you start to get to the underbelly, like, why am I scared? Why am I afraid? Where did I learn this from? How did I do that? You know, so if you start asking your questions, what made me so scared? When was the time that my emotions were not okay? When have I seen someone, when have I witnessed it and not felt safe having these emotions? And then when I was there, how old was I? And how has this affected my life in every aspect of my work or my relationships or whatever? So when you start to really get to it, you're like, why was I so scared to cry?
Yeah.
You know, but only you will know that. Only you will be able to decide, you know, or know your answers, because no one else will be able to tell you.
So who should be coming for a super retreat?
Everyone and anyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
That's not yeah, who should be coming for a super retreat? Like, because I know it's very women centric as well. Like, should men start coming for it as well, or do you think that the programs will be tailored for men in going forward?
I think I would definitely want to do more men's stuff as well, and I think that's a segment that I really want to open up. But because I'm not a man, I don't know what men need. Although we have a really amazing coach in Ash Nair, and he's been running men's circles, and I completely trust him. So, you know, that could be an opportunity. But in general, I would definitely say anybody that just wants to connect. I mean, it could be as easy as, I just want to know what you guys.
I think, I'm not sure if Sarah's still connected, but okay, yes, you're back.
Yeah, it could just be as easy as, like, you know, reasons why you want to take a baking class. You know, do you just want to learn a new skill? You just want to meet someone. You just want to try something out. You know, it could be for anyone, and you'll never realize what's underneath that. And we won't know it either. That's not in our form. Our form is just your name, your number, your email, but it's not like, what are you healing from? You know, like what are you trying to get through? And sometimes people will share, I'm going through a personal issue, or I feel, out of 10, I feel like a 5. I don't really feel like a 10. And I just need to understand, or I went through a bad breakup, or I have a job change. I feel lost. I don't know what to do. There's just this huge spectrum of people that, like, don't know. And I'm just like, come. At the end of the day, you may feel like it's a loss of 2 hours, or you may feel like it's a gain of 2 hours. But right now we're doing pay as you can this month. Next month, we're also going to do pay as you can, because we know that not everybody's in the best financial situation. We do have a suggested fee because it is an energy exchange, and I do think it is of high value. But you get to determine how much you want to give, and that's it. And that's not on us. So, so yeah, I would say join a super retreat. We've got a relationship class coming up on Tuesday, and that's for men and women. We've got a breathwork class coming up on Monday. And that's also men and women. So we will always say if it's just for women only or for men and women. And we're starting to open up a little bit more. Obviously, we still market towards women because that's my forte and because I am a woman. But we would definitely love to explore working with male coaches, or, you know, spaces where men can also feel safe and feel comfortable, because I think they need it as much as we do.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, if we always focus on women empowerment, what about the men who create the environment that we have to be empowered in?
Yeah, it's true. You're absolutely right. And especially when men don't have a space to be able to do that. I mean, for women, it's so easy to say, I'm hurt, I just want to talk to someone. For guys, it's like you've got to beat that out of yourself and say, this doesn't exist in me, I'm fine, you know? And you're like, you're not okay. So I mean, we definitely want to create spaces for men. I just want to make sure that, like, that it's created in a way that men would enjoy it, you know, and that, you know, they would be able to take it to the next level. So yeah, that's that.
That's awesome. Anything that we can look forward to? Because I know Super Retreat, like you said, you've tailored it each time. You always innovated each session. With someone with something that is so successful, you would think that it would be very it would be you would be tempted to replicate.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I've never seen that with you. You've kind of like each one is completely different.
Yeah.
And everyone has something new to look forward to, especially when they've participated in previous Super Retreats as well. So what else
Yeah.
can we look forward to in Super Retreat?
I mean, there's so many things that we could do. I mean, it could be segments, it could be like men, it could be parenting, it could be young teens, or we can do other things like podcasts or, you know, streaming live to the public, or, you know, creating a bigger type of events. So I'm just really excited that I'm in a space where I can create, and whoever I bring along with me, all these amazing coaches that I completely trust, are willing to just share and bestow their knowledge with participants. Like, I'm just really grateful for that exchange. And yeah, I mean, I guess just to close, because I know the time is like, but yeah, just go to supparetreat.com. If there's a class that resonates with you, check it out. That's it. If it doesn't, that's fine. But all I know is that, you know, we're going to be there, and you're more than welcome to join.
All right. Thanks so much, Sarah, for sharing all of that with us. I'm sure all of you would be tempted to go for the next Super Retreat. As a previous participant, I would say go. No expectations, just go, because you never know what you're going to uncover within yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Sarah, for your time, and for everyone else that's joining us here today. I'm going to bring Jacob back.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump back in. Sorry, Melissa, and just say thank you again to Sarah, of course, for sharing all of that. I must admit, as a host who's taking a back seat in these kind of sessions, when we're able to bring on such wonderful guest hosts as yourself, Melissa, I'm always, of course, I'm listening intently to the conversation, and I'm really kind of trying to focus on what I can comment on, or what kind of insightful questions I can ask when I do come back. But honestly, you've answered so many of them so thoroughly, so expertly, so well. I think the way that you describe your journey, the way that you explain, you know, right from your personal background and your journey through the entertainment industry way back when to now doing what you're doing with Super Retreat, I think it all clearly comes from such a place of passion, and you're able to describe that and explain it so well that it's just everything has been answered. But there is one thing though, which I want to comment on, which I think you're absolutely right to say, and that is, we won't admit it, but us guys really do need a safe space to let things out. I think sometimes, you know, and we are often not as prepared to admit that as I think we should be. So I'm curious. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come out with on, you know, if that's marketed more towards the guy, because I think it will take I think fundamentally the need is the same. You need for that emotional space and that you know, that outlet and so on. But I think the way that you get there, the destination is the same, but the journey is perhaps slightly different. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be very interesting to see what you come up with. But it sounds as if like you're taking great steps towards that. So yeah, I mean, we wish you, of course, all the very best of luck with it. It's an amazing initiative, and I've heard only amazing things about the retreat. And of course, Melissa, I know that you had an amazing time there yourself. So long may that continue. But thank you again, Sarah, and of course, Melissa. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job hosting. I think so too, and I think I think it's fair to say probably got much more out of you, Sarah. You know, having been on one of the retreats, having known what to ask, I think probably opened up. Melissa, you opened up Sarah's story to the audience in a wonderful way tonight, which I couldn't have done. So we really appreciate that. The audience is very grateful. ALYFE group are very grateful. So thank you both very much, Sarah, for your candor and your honesty and your authenticity. Although, of course, that's what we've come to expect from you these days. Like, there's no there's no bullshit. Let's put it that way. You are what you see, which is wonderful. I'm likewise, Melissa, of course. So it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, and we're very grateful. And we hope that, you know, once things open up again, once we're able to travel, because I know you're running these retreats in Bali, correct? So I imagine there's not much planned for the foreseeable future, but hopefully that can change quite soon.
Yeah, we had one in Bali, and I think it was a really great experience, but I think just having something on homegrown soil is also a lot nicer. So hopefully if things get better and there's, you know, we're able to do more domestic travel, I would definitely love to do something, you know, a lot local again.
Yeah, sure. There's just something about that. It's an even safer space somehow,
Yes.
isn't it? Just in a place where you feel where you feel like biologically comfortable. I guess that might go a long way towards letting you open up more. So, well, amazing, and we look forward to hearing more about it. And so, and just a very quick final note that I'll leave on for the audience at home. We are sending out a survey in the comments beneath the Facebook group, which will include details to Supparetreat, and Suppagood, Sarah's agency. So check out the survey. You can find all the details there through the website, and you can also follow Sarah, of course, on Instagram down below. That's one final plug. So follow along Sarah on Instagram for all of the most up-to-date information on Supparetreat and Suppagood Inc. that you can. But for now, ladies, I'm afraid we have to bid you both good night, as much as I wish we could keep going. But I think we've about wrapped up. So thank you both again very much. We'll say goodnight now, and we'll wish you all the very best, both of you, and that you stay safe and healthy. And that, of course, we see you again very soon, because, you know, we miss you. It's been a while, I think, since we've had an event where. No, of course, very much our pleasure. And Melissa, thank you again for doing such a great job. Who knows? Maybe we'll do this again sometime. Maybe in real life.
Yes, that'll be nice.
All right. Good night, guys. Thank you again.
Bye. Everyone.
Well, there we have it. The wonderful Sarah Lian and the wonderful Melissa Tan also. So that about wraps up the midweek point of week 5, day 3, week 5 of ALYFE Connects. But we are back at the same time tomorrow night, and true to form, we are bringing back Thursday with live music. And we are delighted to welcome Cassidy LaCreme all the way from Australia. But she will be a very familiar face to most of you who follow the local circuit, because she is, I think, one of the few, if not, I might suggest the only Australian singer who is doing songs in Malay. So Cassidy LaCreme is joining us tomorrow for a live music night. So come back at the same time for that. That's at 8 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be here. We'll see you here. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and if you can, stay indoors. Keep those cases down. But for now, good night. We'll see you tomorrow.